Please open your Bibles to your Old Testaments. If you have multiple marks available, put a mark in Proverbs 31. We'll reference that passage a couple of times, and then turn to Esther chapter 2. Esther chapter 2. Well, it's good to see so many of our own folks back tonight, and even a few visitors on their way through. We appreciate everybody being here. It really doesn't matter if you are a member here or not. We just appreciate you being here, and we enjoy our time together in worship of our great God. It's been a very good day, and it is a reminder that every week as Sunday rolls around, it's the best day of the week because it's the day we get to join with one another in praise of our great and holy God. And every man who has helped lead us today, even this morning, thoughts on the table and our songs and our prayers and Russ's lesson this morning, and then of course tonight, and the thoughts on the table and the prayers and the songs, it makes for the best day. Appreciate so much you being here. By way of announcements for our folks, do not forget this coming Saturday and Sunday is when Jordan Schaus will be with us. Jordan is a fine young man, and I'm probably one of these days going to have to quit saying young, but Jordan and I are real close to the same age. So for now, I will say a fine young man. And so Jordan does really good work in the Dallas Metroplex. You'll enjoy meeting him. You'll enjoy spending time with him. Believe it or not, he is a very likable person, very nice. I have described him lovingly as annoyingly nice. And so you'll get to meet him and so forth. Take advantage of an opportunity to visit with him. There is a meal list in the back on the foyer, in the bulletin board on the foyer. Both of those spots are available. If you can, take one of those slots and take this young man out to dinner. I did make a whole point to Kyle's help the other day in class. You're going to remember this. In our Roman study, I specifically made a point about taking the visiting preacher out for food. Some of you guys in the Romans class remember that. I did throw in a plug about taking the local guy out for food too. Okay? You can do both this coming weekend if you'd like. All right? We'll work it in together. We'll get it all. Everybody has a chance to serve. It's a great opportunity. All right? All right. But take advantage of that. You'll like Jordan. You'll enjoy meeting him, and you'll certainly enjoy his preaching. Esther chapter 2, please. Esther chapter 2, beginning in verse 5. In Shushan, the citadel, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shemaiah, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. Kish had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captives who had been captured with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. And Mordecai had brought up Hadassah, that is, Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. The young woman was lovely and beautiful. When her father and mother died, Mordecai took her as his own daughter. Russ did a fine job this morning of essentially telling you the story of Esther. Did a marvelous job. I would have had trouble trying to share that in such a relatable way and even in a condensed form. But just think about the story of Esther as he explained it this morning. What you may have not immediately picked up on, if you have young daughters, you might have picked up on this, but what he told you was the Bible's Cinderella. That's what the story of Esther is. This is a young woman. We're not told when specifically she was born. Mordecai evidently was taken away. So we're not told if she was born just before the captivity began or born perhaps during the captivity or perhaps right after the captivity. We're not really told. But essentially what this woman is born into is a conquered people, oppressed in a foreign land, and she is the orphan child raised by not a close relative, but a cousin, and nobody in that city who eventually, through this occurrence and this happenstance and this chance, here she is the queen in the most powerful empire on the face of the earth, married to the most powerful man on the face of the earth. Now, if that's not the Cinderella story, You can tell me all about it later, but Disney ain't got nothing on this. But folks, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about this young woman who, through incredible circumstances, ways and things that happen to her around her that are almost beyond our comprehension. What she prevented, as Russ detailed the story this morning, what she prevented was her generation's Holocaust. Have you thought about it in those terms? Because she averted the annihilation, the genocide of her people, the Jews. Because she had the courage to do what was right. Boy, she is a remarkable woman. And there's about 10 chapters in this book, and through it all, what we generally notice is Vashti. And we notice Mordecai. He takes up a lot of pages in this book. She doesn't speak a lot. There's little snippets, little sections. But the actions of this woman speak volumes. As the woman who is dead, she still speaks. I hesitate to do this, but I'm going to anyways. As you look at this woman, and I want you to especially think of the young ladies we have in this congregation. Perhaps some of our daughters or some of our granddaughters. Do you look in the mirror and see who you want to see? Do you see a woman who has the characteristics that this woman possessed? Do you, as a young man, look for a woman who possesses these character traits, these qualities? I'm going to tell you, that's where we, I think, sometimes struggle with some of these very things. But Esther presents a situation where we can learn a lot from it in this issue. What our young women want to be, who they want to be like, what our young men should want in a spouse. I don't know why that's on my mind. I'll let you think about that. Who do you want to be? And young men, who do you want to marry? Well, let me show you a woman who I think presents very many of these qualities which we all should find admirable, qualities which God would desire from us. A little unorthodox, but I think every one of these points is very appropriate, especially with our world and the way that it is today. Number one, there is nothing wrong with outer beauty, but true beauty is in character. I want you to look at this text again. Look at this text, verse 7 of chapter 2. Mordecai had brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. Notice the phrase here. The young woman was lovely and beautiful. Look at verse 8. So it was when the king's command and decree were heard, and when many young women were gathered at Shushan, the citadel, under the custody of Hegai, that Esther also was taken to the king's palace, into the care of Hegai, the custodian of the women. And what follows is essentially the Miss Persia pageant. All of these women from all over the empire are brought in, and they are whittled down until you get the select crop that now King Ahasuerus can choose from. And that's what happens. You actually read through this and you see that. All of these women are brought in. This young woman, verse 9, Esther, pleased Hegai so much, obtained his favor, so he readily gave beauty preparations to her beside her allowance, gave her 7 choice maidservants, and provided her the best circumstances possible. In verse 10, she is cautious. She does not reveal her ethnicity. In verse 11, Mordecai wants to know what's going on. Verse 12, all the young women are brought in as a parade before Ahasuerus. And now look down at verse 15. So when the turn came for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his own daughter, to go into the king, she requested nothing but what Hegai, the king's eunuch, the custodian of the women, had advised. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all who saw her. Verse 17 as well. The king loved Esther,
more than all the other women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins. So he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. I've heard estimates as high as 25 million women in the empire under the Persian rule at this time. You think about how many people she beat out as she is brought eventually before the king. I sometimes think we give this a bad rap. There's nothing wrong with being beautiful. It may surprise you that when you go and read through, especially your Old Testaments, it's one of the best attributes that's described of lots of people. You've got a ton of people. In fact, some of your favorite people of the Old Testament are described as beautiful or gorgeous or ruddy and good looking in David's case. Absalom was a handsome man, more handsome than all the men in Israel. And Saul was no ugly man. He was a man who looked like a king. He looked like a king, acted like a king, was built like a king. There's nothing wrong with being attractive. The danger is when we are consumed by that mentality and it shapes our character. There's nothing wrong with being beautiful, but I'm going to tell you, as a man who's a father of little girls, I'm more aware of this than I ever would have been otherwise. There has to be more than looks to a person. These people need to develop this mentality that says it's okay to be beautiful, it's okay to be cute, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my integrity or my character to do it. I'm going to make the easy application here. The outfit may be cute. That doesn't mean it's okay. If we have to sacrifice our values, if we have to sacrifice our character, if we have to sacrifice our integrity, then this is no longer about what's cute and beautiful. And it may be something that's still attractive to the world around us, but I must confess, that should be so low on your totem pole of priorities that it's not even funny. You are much more than a face and a body. Though our culture is impressed by that, and that's essentially all that women are, we need to make sure we teach in our homes, certainly from the Bible, that this is not about the physical body. This is not about the sexual appeal. There's something more to you. I tell you, it is sickening. I think this is the easy observation to look around. Has our world sexualized everything? Yeah. I mean, do I even need to ask? We know the world has done this. And you know, when the girls and I went to Disney World last year, I was horrified by what we saw. This is supposed to be a family place beyond the moral issues of homosexuality and some things like that. It's supposed to be a family atmosphere, right? And yet what do I see? As the girls and I are waiting in line for a ride, I'm seeing young girls walk by me wearing a sport bra and booty shorts. My daughter's 8. Little girl that ran past us couldn't have been but 10. I'm going to tell you something, folks. We sit here and gripe about predators and people preying on our children, and then what do? We throw away this concept. Let's make sure it's beautiful. Let's make sure it's cute. Let's make sure they look good in it. And we put them out there in a world where sexual predators are everywhere. I'm going to tell you, we have allowed our culture to change the way we think about this topic. And it is a shameful thing. It is a disgusting thing. And I can't believe Christians buy into it. This woman is described as beautiful. And yet it's a fascination that in no way does she seem to even manipulate the circumstances because of that. Russ hinted at that when he threw in the fact that I was going to talk about beautiful tonight. And by the way, I got some people like, are you really going to talk about our beauty tonight? Yeah. Yeah, I am. In fact, this is the main thing I wanted to talk about. The rest of the stuff he preached on this morning. So you're getting really short 2 points in just a second. Folks, we can't allow the culture to change the way we view our bodies, ourselves, our daughters, or our sons. And yet, what have we done? We walk through Target and we look for what's cute and we look for what's fashionable. We look for what's stylish with no regard for how it covers our bodies. You think that's a problem? I want you to notice this passage. It was in our scripture reading. This is why I had you mark Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31. I know you've heard this verse all of your life. Proverbs 31, verse 30. Proverbs 31, verse 30. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Let me ask you, is that a verse that your daughters know? Is that a verse your sons know? I made the point at the beginning of the lesson, folks. If we're going to talk about what our young men should be looking for in a potential spouse, the one person who's going to help them serve God better than anybody else, or the one person who's going to hinder them in their service to God worse than anybody else, are they seeing character or are they seeing a body? Are they seeing somebody who can satisfy the sexual appetites and that's it, or somebody who can help the soul and satisfy eternal appetites, help them to seek out King Jesus? Read the text again. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Burn that into your minds and make sure your daughters know it too. It is a sick world in which we live, but if we can kind of get grounded on some of these points right here, folks, we'll do a lot better in this world. But isn't that really what the gospel kind of hits at anyways? Well, it's not about the physical world. We're supposed to be spiritually minded people looking for spiritual things and pursuing spiritual things. Isn't that what the gospel is about? We sit there and argue that that's exactly what the gospel is about. And then what do? We satisfy those sexual appetites and we look for those sexual things. And we don't even realize we're doing it because we're buying into the culture and the way the culture sees things. Christian, brother, sister, please rethink this. You young people, we had a lot of young people this morning. You young people, our young people, the ones who are here all the time, think about what I just said. Maybe mom and dad are not reinforcing this in the home. Maybe you can. It's a shame what we do, folks. It's a shame what we do sometimes in our own home. If we want to be holy like our Father God, well, we're going to focus a whole lot more on what's happening in here than what we're doing out here. Not so concerned about cute. We want to be holy. And by the way, you can be cute and holy. And if you don't believe me, I'll fight you in the parking lot because I think my daughters are the cutest things in the world. I actually had somebody ask me about swimwear the other day because of this issue. Yeah, you can find really cute swimwear that doesn't have to show your whole body. Oh, I know, you won't look like everybody else around you, but young men, put your shirt on because you don't need to be running around without your shirt on. Young ladies, you don't need to be running around in a two-piece. You don't need to be running around in a one-piece. I got to tell you, the one-pieces don't cover much either. Put some clothes on. Let's be holy. All right? Number 2. Integrity comes at a great risk. I want you to flip over a little bit into chapter 4. Russ was all over this morning, even making part of this point. But I want you to see it. See it in her eyes for just a moment. Verse 11. This is Esther 4, verse 11. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that any man or woman who goes into the inner court to the king, who has not been called, he has but one law: put all to death, except the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter, that he may live. Yet I myself have not been called to go into the king these 30 days. Now think about what's happening in this circumstances. Russ described it well this morning. If she goes into the king's chamber, if she goes in and presents herself to him, though he has not requested her, her life is on the line. Verse 16, the text he read very well this morning: go and gather all the Jews who are present in Shushan and fast for me, neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise, and so I will go to the king, which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. In verse 14, Mordecai describes the scenario. I want you to, this is the catch-22. Her situation right now is, if I go in and do this, he might kill me. Mordecai says, if you don't go in and do this, you might die anyways. Man, what do you do now? I do it, I might die. I don't do it, I might die. So what is she supposed to do? And yet, as Russ pointed out this morning, she expresses this great faith, essentially saying, I'm going to go, and if I perish, I perish. Could you have done that? Could you just say, so be it? Accept the consequences, whatever the consequences may be. Accept the consequences of my decision because it's the right thing to do. Doesn't that kind of go back to point 1 again? I accept the consequences that I'm not going to do what everybody else around me is doing because I want to be this person that is pleasing in the eyes of God. Am I willing to accept the consequences of that choice? Am I willing to not be friends with that person, to not dress that way and talk that way and go those places? Am I willing to stand out and be different because I want to be right with God? So be it. Whatever may happen, may happen. Boy, it's such a blessing that sometimes we're not facing a situation where our physical life is on the line. We don't have to say, if I perish, I perish. Maybe it would be more appropriate in our world today to say, if I'm ostracized, I'm ostracized, although that's really tough to say twice. I wouldn't try it a third time, for sake of embarrassment. Folks, we have to be unwilling to compromise our convictions. We have to be unwilling to give in to the world and the culture around us. If you were to sit down with her, now I really want you to think through this. If you were to sit down with Esther and say, Esther, what do you think about this? What would your advice be to me as a young man, a young woman growing up in a culture that very much does not want Christianity anymore? What would you say to me? What do you think she would tell you? Don't compromise your morals. Don't compromise your convictions. Take a stand, and it may cost you, but it's the right thing to do. You have to live right. What does Daniel say? He says the same thing. Not separated too far in time and culture and circumstance. Although he wasn't a concubine in the king's court. Just to clarify. But he was a person who was unwilling to compromise. How many maidens would have been in a similar circumstance as Esther and would have compromised? Would have given in. The pressure's too much. The pressure's too great. I'm too concerned about my standing. I'm too concerned to lose what I have. Russ explained this morning, folks. At this point, she's queen. What if she had just backed away from that and said, I don't want to lose this. I finally made it. I'm a nobody, a nothing, with no prospects and no hope, and all of a sudden, queen of Persia? What if I don't want to lose all of this now? What do you do? Boy, that's a tough situation. What would you have done? She says, I'll accept the fate, whatever it may be. This person may take it a little too far, but I want you to consider, the individual said, Esther may be taken as an illustration of the powerlessness of world influences to change the feelings of the heart or the judgments of the mind or the government of the life in the case of one who in early youth has been trained under loving care in the principles and practices of a holy religious life. As Russ pointed out, there's no mention necessarily of God anywhere in this text, so we're not told she was really raised with a strict Jewish upbringing, but what we can see in this woman, it's obvious. She was raised well. Mordecai did a good job helping this young woman to see what mattered, and when the going got tough, she dug in and did what was right. That's a pretty good indication of a good raising. Came across as I was doing this study and preparing for this that I couldn't shake the contrast of Herod. In very similar circumstances. Here's a man who's king, not as powerful as Ahasuerus here, but is king. Young lady comes in and feeds into his lustful behavior. She gets what she wants too. John the Baptist's head on a platter. Look at this young lady. And very likely there was some usage of her as a concubine, recognize all of that, and yet she seems to retain her morals overall. Some of the stuff we don't know about, we just don't know about. I'm going to tell you folks, if it was easy to do the right thing all the time, everybody'd do it. Wouldn't they? If it was easy, there wouldn't be any people sinning in this world. And yet what it is people giving in to what they want and what is easy with no regard to how it affects their integrity. Think about what she did. If I die, I die, but I'm going to do what's right. That's quite courageous, as somebody pointed out recently. All right, number 3. It's a fascinating thing as you're reading through this. I was fortunate enough to sit down early this week and read the entire account, and it was just really profitable. I would encourage you to do that. Go back up to chapter 2. I think she would be quick to tell you, don't ignore wise counsel. Back up in chapter 2, verse 9. Chapter 2, verse 9. This is the text we read just a moment ago, but notice the way this reads. The young woman pleased him, that is, Esther pleased Haggai. She obtained his favor, so he readily gave beauty preparations to her besides her allowance. Then 7 choice maidservants were provided for her from the king's palace. He moved her and her maidservants to the best place in the house of the women. Verse 10. Esther had not revealed her people or family, for Mordecai had charged her not to reveal it. Look at verse 15. When the turn came for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his daughter to go into the king, she requested nothing but what Haggai, the king's eunuch, the custodian of women, advised. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all who saw her. Jump over to chapter 4. Chapter 4. Chapter 4, verse 13. Mordecai told them, this is Esther 4, verse 13. Mordecai told them to answer Esther, do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come into the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, go, gather all the Jews who are present in Shushan, and fast for me, neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise. I will go to the king, which is against the law. If I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther commanded him. It's a subtle thing that happens over and over and over in Esther. She is advised by somebody, and she accepts their wise counsel. It happens with Mordecai several times. We read them. But it also happens with Haggai. Folks, listen to those around you who love you. Who love you and love the Lord. And that second part is incredibly important. You young people, you need to listen to to older people who love you and love the Lord. Make sure you get that last phrase. Your friends may love you, but they don't always love the Lord. You may have people who advise you later in your life who love you, but do not love the Lord. Make sure they love you and they love the Lord. I have heard more than one occasion in the last few years of a young woman or young man in their 20s leaving the Lord, leaving the truth, leaving the Bible, leaving all of it behind because somebody they cared about and they thought cared about them was advising them through it all. This young woman was listening to wise counsel. The worst thing you can do is take advice from a fool. I want you to, if you still have Proverbs, I want you to just notice this. This is Proverbs 1. Proverbs 1, probably a pretty familiar text to most of us. Proverbs 1. Proverbs 1, verse 25. As you're thinking through this concept of wisdom in Proverbs, he makes the comment, even back up in verse 20, he begins this illustration, or begins this phrasing of wisdom. Verse 25, we'll just jump right here in the verse. Verse 25, because you disdained all my counsel and would have none of my rebuke, I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your terror comes. When your terror comes like a storm and your destruction comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you. What happened? He rejected wisdom. He rejected counsel. Even at the beginning of Proverbs, in the earlier part of chapter 1, that's exactly how the book begins. My son, listen to counsel. Listen to this advice. I know a young person doesn't like feeling young, but you're young. I know you don't like being treated like a child, and yet you still are. I get it. I can still pass for a teenager. I didn't like that laugh. That wasn't... I could do it. I get it. I get we don't like this. But at the same time, these people are placed over you. As Russ made the point this morning, revere those people who are over you, who love you and want you to do well in life. They're trying to help you. I came across a particular comment made in the late 1800s, and I thought it's impressive to me that this comment is made 140 years later. We still think the same way. Young people dislike restraint and long for the freedom of independence before they are ready to bear the responsibility of it. They often fret under the wise and affectionate safeguards which their parents impose. Yet, in afterlife, most men and women are willing to confess that they were very ignorant in youth. And it would have been well for them if they had understood better and followed more fully the parental admonitions which seem so irksome. You can catch some of that old language. I thought, wow, nothing's changed. 140 years later, people still feel the same way. Go talk to any adult in this room, and they will tell you, my parents, wished I had listened to them more. I can say that, and my parents aren't Christians. Wish I had listened to my people, my parents, who weren't even Christians. I wished I had listened to them more. Would have saved me some heartache. Would have saved me some frustration. So, parents, this one's for you. Kiddos, listen to your parents. I'm getting lots of nods and several mouthed amens. Kiddos, did you get that? Listen to your parents. But I want you to also consider, look around this room. See people who love you and love the Lord. One day, be a Mordecai. An individual who can offer some sound advice. An individual who compassionately helps another. An individual who's mindful of their duty. An individual who encourages people to do the right thing. You are surrounded in this room by Mordecais, especially you young people. Some of you older people. You're surrounded in this room by Mordecais, people who want to do all of those things for you because they love you and because they love the Lord. Don't ignore wise counsel. And don't be so foolish to not seek it. This is one of the blessings of shepherds. This is one of the blessings of a local church. This is one of the blessings of having a family in Christ. Individuals who want to glorify God, individuals who want to help you serve Him better, individuals who want you to go to heaven. That's people to have in your corner. And that's the people you have in this room. So, how's that for Cinderella? Young lady raised in a foreign land against all odds, against all circumstances, in a horrible environment, is a good, moral person. Does the right thing. Oh, we could maybe squabble about some of the issues they had. Yeah, all of them had them, okay, folks? But she comes through this and does the right thing. That's something we all need to take note from in our culture today. As Russ pointed out this morning, this has been an enjoyable study. Not just Esther, but all of these individuals. It's just kind of been very profitable for me. I know it's been profitable for him. I hope it's been profitable for you. Will you listen, though? Will you listen? They're still speaking, folks. They're telling you, please do it. Please do it better. Please do it well. Please do it right. It's worth it. It's okay. It's good. Come on. And probably on a few occasions they're saying, would you please stop it? Would you knock it off, please, and do better? Yeah, I probably would get some of that too. Can we help you in some way tonight? Listen to the wise counsel of Scripture and be obedient to the gospel of Jesus Christ. We would love to make that right with you and help you if you're willing to come now as we stand and as we sing.